all of the adverse effects. Because I feel like the first part to acknowledge is for God who said, "Let light shine out of darkness." So I want to acknowledge the fact that it's not so much because I always try and make this a point when we talk about certain things because I feel like we give life and power to things that are inanimate and that don't have that life or that power. So the truth of the matter is, while social media has become an issue, it's not social media that's at the core of that issue. It's the way social media is handled and utilized. It's the same. I always carry that same thought process. It's not money that's the issue. It's the love of money. So it's not money, guns, weapons, those things cannot get up and do anything without a person to handle them with or mishandle them in that case. So it's not so much how the fact that it's there is the fact of how it's being handled. So with social media, and then like it says, let his light shine out of darkness. So for us, we can look at ourselves as, we're corrupted vessels basically because of sin, because of the presence of sin. But God let his light shine through us. So his light is shining out of darkness. In the same way, in that same sense, the same way that shows social media has been used to shine like as a forefront for darkness, it can be used as a forefront for light. It can be used as a forefront to spread his message and his word further. Because think about it during coronavirus and shutdown and stuff. We couldn't gather. We could not come together. But social media, those things, we were able to use them and still spread his word, spread his message, and still gather and come together. And it says, give us the light of knowledge of God's glory displayed in the face of Christ. So we can still spread his glory, spread his knowledge, and those things, okay, there's still a lot of good. There's still a lot of good things that we can get even out of things. Ultimately, it's the enemy that corrupts a lot of this stuff around us. It's not the things itself, even though they are man-made and even though they are constructions of things outside of him. It's the enemy that gives the power, that gives the negative connotation, that gives the bad, that all the bad comes from. That's what we have to focus on. And yeah, that's just my spill on that.
All right, we're going to pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather in your place, Father, to gather in your house. We thank you for the opportunity to be around our family and our loved ones and our friends, and just the opportunity to see each other and be covered by you, Father. And we ask that you just give us clear minds and clear hearts today. Help us to really open up and we thank you for the Sabbath. We thank you for the rest that you give us, Father. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Okay, so the young lady, Naja, was supposed to be here today. She gave her testimony, I think maybe 2 weeks ago, and her car wouldn't start. She's in Port St. Lucie. She texted me during, church service. So I asked these two young people, would they lead out for us, and Nadine and I will assist. So Donovan and Kaya, if you would come and lead out and start the discussion. Can we talk about social media and how it affects us?
I guess we can start with the cards. We'll hand out the cards, and I guess the topic is social media. So you can write on the card a question or a statement or a thought or an opinion or an experience that you've had, whether positive or negative, doesn't matter. And we'll write them on the cards and we'll pick through them and we will discuss them. Yeah. You said?
So I love how Donovan opened up. A lot of times, um, those of us that are older, we see the negative side of the social media. But I'm gonna give you my first experience with it, at least church related. I was a very young pastor. It was in Bermuda, and at the time, none of the churches on the entire island of Bermuda did any services over the internet. There was no streaming. How many of you familiar with something called Church Pond? Church Pond was just coming out. And so one of my friends, he's in charge of it, and he's like, "Look, we need to do church pond for your church." So he came and we started talking about it, and we actually signed up to do it. Fast forward, I'm preaching one day, and then I get an email that night from a pastor in Africa. And he says to me, "I've really been enjoying the messages. What I do is I take your sermon and I translate it into my language and preach it the next week." So now when I heard, now this is before I had a chance to travel anywhere, do all this kind of stuff. But now when I hear that text, "Go ye into all the world and preach the gospel," my feet at that point had never been to the Mediterranean or Jerusalem or Africa, anywhere like that. But the message was going out. So when you tell me about social media, and especially now after the pandemic, post-pandemic, when most people are still not physically coming to church, how is the message going forward? Through social media, through the internet, through different things like that. Now, can there be too much of it? Probably, yes. Could we misuse it? Yeah. So again, I love where you're going. How we handle it is going to be the thing with that. So that's been one of my experiences.
Okay, thank you, thank you. So I guess we'll start with us, and then we'll open up the cards and give y'all, opportunity to write, and we'll collect them. So mine is kind of a doozy. It's kind of a lot, but I was pretty young, when I was introduced to the internet and handed a computer or a tablet or a phone or something, which most of the kids now are pretty young when they get to have that. Um, but let me put it like this: I saw a lot of things that I should not have seen at that age. I was introduced to things that I would not have been introduced to until I got older. And I went to Christian school till I was in 10th grade. So I was even a little bit sheltered because, when you're in public school, you kind of have more access to things, more students, more people from different backgrounds, and you learn more things. But, in Seventh-day Adventist school, most of the kids are coming from the same place. So you all have a pretty similar experience in life. And so when I got a computer, I don't remember what actually I do. The first thing I had was a tablet. And so I got to just be free. And so that had adverse effects on me as a teenager, because then I got to public school and I'm like, wow, but also at that time I was battling self-esteem issues, depression, not feeling good about myself, feeling worthless, and, just those types of feelings. So when I was in high school, I think that's when that was the strongest for me. And I had, suicidal thoughts. I just felt like, why am I here? What is the point? And I didn't understand my worth or my purpose. And so, everybody knows Snapchat. And I felt like what I need to do, because nobody else, it's just, it's a social media platform, and you take a picture, the picture lasts for 24 hours, it goes away. So you can't see it anymore unless you save it to your phone, and somebody else will know if you save it to your phone. So I went on Snapchat and I said, I don't feel comfortable talking to my parents. I don't feel comfortable talking to my family. So I'm going to talk to the internet. And I went on there and I said some things about my suicidal thoughts. And I believe that at that time, I really felt like that was my path. Like, I don't have a purpose here, so I should just leave. And when I posted it and I was crying and I went to sleep. And at about 12, 1 in the morning, the large knock on the door, and it was the police. And they said, where's Kaya? We need to see her. We need to make sure she's okay. And I was sleeping in the bed, and they came, bust my door open, and they said, put your clothes on and you got to come with us. They put me in the back of a police car and they took me to the hospital. And they drug tested me and they left me in a room till about 4 in the morning. And at 4 in the morning, they came and got me and they took me to a psych ward, pretty much. And so they Baker acted me because if and nobody knows, that's when they perceive you to be a threat to yourself or others. Um, so I was there for 2 or 3 days, and you get 5 minutes of outside time. They let you outside for 5 minutes to see the sun. There's no windows, there's no nothing. They sit you in a room with other kids that they Baker acted. And sitting in there, I heard kids say, like, oh, I'm in here because I tried to kill my mother. I'm in here because I actually hurt somebody. I'm in here because I tried to kill someone at school. Like really crazy stuff. And it occurred to me, I have no business being in here. Um, and my mom got to see me. She got to see me for 30 minutes. And she got to bring me, some personal effects because they don't let you have underwear. They don't let you. It's a jail for children. Yeah, they give you. Yep, they don't even give you that. They give you cloth, like a diaper, piece of underwear, and that's it, and a robe to sleep in and to wear around the hospital. And I think the most memorable part of that for me was walking through the adult ward, and it was people in there that had been in there since they were children, and they just took them from the child ward and threw them over there, and they have lost their mind now. They weren't originally, developmentally challenged, but they are now because they've been in there so long. Um, and the way that the police got me was one of my classmates called them, and she said, "Please go check on my friend." And I hated her for a long time, but I realized that she saved my life. Um, I haven't talked about this in so long, so it's like, uh, and I'm not sad. I'm actually very happy, but it reminds me of when my life was a lot worse because of my mental state. But it was also because I was on social media all the time, seeing people doing better than me, and thinking, or it's, yeah, appearing that they're doing better than me. And so, what I realized from that was that I had to not look at it like it was real because it's not. Um, and I got older and I realized these people are just as sad and as broken as anybody else. Um, and so after I got out of there, like I went to my mom, I was like, "Mom, I'm not crazy. I have no business being in here with these people." Um, and so it saved my life. It saved my life. Truly, I don't think I would be here today if that girl hadn't did what she did for me. Um, but it has changed. It changed that whole situation. Changed my view of my life and my view of the internet and my view of other people's lives and how they show it to us. Because I think it is a tool by the enemy to make you feel inadequate, to make you feel like you have to do better. And I was just talking about this yesterday. I said, I'm 21 years old, but on the internet, there's 21-year-olds with Bugattis and their own homes, and they're rich and they're millionaires. And so they make you feel like at 21, you need to get your life together. You haven't done anything with your life because you're not where they are. But a Bugatti is a very, very expensive car. But I hope y'all know, Pastor calling y'all old. He not calling himself old. He talking about y'all. Oh, what happened? We have a question, guys. We have a question.
So in your testimony, since we have, young people here, can you explain the good, the bad, and the ugly that you experience with social media?
I guess I'll start with the good. The good was that I made friends. And that felt hard for me when I was younger because I felt like I've never been the kind of type of person to go with the curve. And when you're not like that as a child, people exclude you and they don't want to be your friend and they, don't let you into groups. So I think I found people that had similar likes to me, similar niches to me, similar things. And I have friends now that I met on the internet and, we hang out in person, and they're really good people. So I think that was one of the good things, and being able to see stuff I never seen before positively, I think that's a good thing. You know, you get to see the world. If you can't go travel, you get to see the world and see what's out there. The bad, like I said, you know, just making you feel inadequate, making you feel like you haven't done enough, you're not good enough, you will never be good enough. Um, and I think also you're gonna run into people that don't have good intentions. And that was really, really big for me when I was, you know, a preteen, where I didn't, and as a kid, you don't understand the effects that an adult can have on you. You don't understand that. So, you know, I was 13 and I'd be on the internet texting, and this is a person who's 45 years old, but they're posing as a 16-year-old or a 13-year-old. And you don't know that. There's absolutely no way you would know that, but they're predators. And that's one of the biggest thing on the internet with your children. Please, please, please watch your children on these tablets, on these computers, on these phones, because these predators, they know that that's the easiest place. They know that they can go work out of school and they can get on the internet because that's where the children are. And most of the parents are not monitoring their children. Like I'm a teacher and I hear all day stuff kids shouldn't be saying. Singing music they should not be singing, and it's causing them to grow up faster than they should. But mentally, they're still immature. So, you know, they're saying things adults say, they're using adult words, they're using adult themes, but they don't know nothing about it. And that affects them from kindergarten to adulthood. And I, being a teacher now and seeing these kids now, because I teach K through third, and we're in trouble. We are in trouble, but we can do something about that. And that starts with us. That starts with the adults. That starts with people. It doesn't even have to be their parents. If you are an adult in a child's life, please, please, please monitor your kids on the internet, because that's what the devil is using to take them the fastest. But yeah. The ugly? I mean, is ugly and bad the same thing? Yeah. But, you know, to sum it all up, I think that if I think it was positive for me and it was negative for me, and it would have a lot of that negative, you know, maybe wouldn't I have been there. Maybe if I didn't have access to certain things, because the internet is a great tool. It's a great tool. It's a great tool, but it's also very scary. It's a huge place. When I like every couple months, I remember that the dark web exists. It exists and people use it. People use it to sell body parts, and like the kids that are going missing, that's where they're going. They're going on the internet and they're selling them. And so you have to really be careful. They're taking your information, you putting pictures up, they stay there forever. They never ever go away. And so those things you must be careful, must be careful, especially with the children. Yeah. Ready?
All right. So my experience with the internet is a little different than Kaya's because it's a little bit of an age difference. And also, it's going to be different than most of the kids now because I always go through this with my sister and our siblings because growing up, our dad kept a computer in the house. So we've always had access to a computer. That was one of his big things. And when we got to the internet, it's different from when they're getting to the internet because when we got to the internet, it was still developing. It was still something that was new and that was growing, and no one really understood it as quite as well as it's understood now. So, so social media did like literally. It's funny to watch Social Network because we kind of lived through the social network era where Facebook actually, where you saw that stuff come to fruition. Like however it is now, we got to see it like come and become a commodity and all that. Like Google and all that, that stuff came along as we were growing up. So even y'all, all that, MySpace, all that was like, all that was coming along and was popular. No one really knew nothing about Facebook or anything. So that's how I came into social media. And the thing is, how I came into social media wasn't even like really by my choice per se. It was more so by the people around me. Because I knew social media existed. I knew people had Facebook pages, all that. I don't think I was ever. I never developed an interest into. I didn't develop an interest into it on my own. I'll say that it wasn't something I chose. I cared for as much. It was more so the people around me were like they had it. Like even what you call. I remember in middle school, I didn't even make my Instagram page. I didn't make my Twitter. The people around, like a friend was like, not even a friend, it was just someone who wanted to follow her. They're like, here, I'm gonna make an Instagram page for you. I didn't, so it's not even like it was something that was given to me, but because it was right there and because it was so accessible, it just it happened. And my experience is a little different than Kai's because I will say what one thing that was big about my parents was like they were very much you're not going to what we do is what we do. What we have is what we have. And who we are is who we are, and that's it. Like it's just it. You don't have we're not over here comparing ourselves or we're not over here competing with any this is how we live, this is where we are. You have all you need and that's it. Because my dad was very big about don't come telling me why so and so have this and we don't no. He shut it down very fast, quick. So it was like when I got to the internet and when I did start seeing stuff and stuff like that. Of course, when you're coming in that coming of age era, you're always going to have that bit of like, dang, okay, they got this going on, and oh wow, they have that. It's interesting, but I don't think it didn't really hit for me till I want to say like high schoolish, high schoolish up until now I will say, because like middle school and elementary school, I didn't even have social media in elementary school, and then middle school it just wasn't. I didn't care like that, but it's like high school. It's like you start to develop that sense of awareness of everything, and you kind of see everything, and then you start looking like, dang, well, whoa, like what would it be like to have that? And shoot, I don't got that, and you really start seeing. And I'll say, even now to this day, is which one I'm learning. I'm teaching myself, and I'm learning in the process of how to. You really have to, and this is why what Kaya said is important in monitoring the kids. You have to you kind of you have to teach them a sense of self because I can say I'd probably be a lot less a lot more lost with it if my parents weren't so big on like teaching us a sense of ourselves and making us know that this is what it is, like you're good. Like I remember my parents like they used to tell me, I remember, for those of you who know Granny used to tell me all the time, you could do whatever you want to do. You let Granny tell you, you could be president. And that was, it's like, that was enough for me. And it's like, you have to come with social media. And I think because I had to come to that come to Jesus moment that the opinions of the people around me are bigger than the opinions of the people who matter are bigger than the opinions of just randoms. It's bigger than the opinions of people who you don't even know. It almost doesn't even matter. So with that, I would say now in my life, especially like after going through the experience of losing my dad and stuff, I'll say like I had a little moment where it was like, dang, you looking at because I went off to school, had the dream. You want to go to medical school, you want to do the big stuff. And then life derails, life happens, and now you're seeing other people do it. And you're here, and you're still here, and you're dealing with being here. And it's a lot. But it's also like, but the thing is, I'm like, it's also that moment you have to say, okay, do I sit and watch them and let that bring me down? Do I sit and see that they're still having this experience and mine has stopped and stayed here? Or do I keep going for what I'm going for? And do I keep pushing towards what I'm pushing towards? And that's ultimately where I had to be with it. But at the same time, that's where I had to be with it as a 22-year-old, not as a 12-year-old, a 13-year-old, 14-year-old. So imagine I'm in my adult mind, well, mostly adult, my premature adult mind, but getting there. I can only imagine what it looks like for someone at 10, at 12, at 13, at 14. It can only imagine what it looks like to see all this stuff and be exposed to all this YouTube and Instagram and Twitter and stuff like that, where you can get some of everything. There's really no real filter for any of this stuff. So you can get some of everything, and then you don't really know who you are yet. So now you're here, you're still building the foundation, but now you have a little sand here, you have a little dirt there, you have some gravel here. You're just having all this extra stuff thrown in, but you haven't even set your foundation. One thing I can say is that the foundation was set before we touched social media, really. So that's the thing. What about the ones who didn't? And these days, a lot of the kids, that's where the biggest issue is with social media. Because at the end of the day, whether social media is real or fake, it doesn't matter. If someone's doing better than you, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. If someone's doing worse than you, that's fine too. But it's ultimately you. It's about you. That's where I'm like, people are like being selfish and stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with being concerned about you and knowing you, especially when you know you need you the most at that point in time. So I feel like there's no issue with that. And I feel like the biggest issue when it comes to that is because social media kind of it pulls you in so many different directions, so many different topics and ideas. It can be an information overload. And then imagine, like I said, we're here, we're adults. We've been able to form, well, most of us, we've been able to form those opinions and set that. We've had that foundation set for us. We know our moral standings and stuff like on topics and things like that. The kids are still learning. The kids haven't even like the teenagers haven't really stepped into standing 10 toes on something, understanding what that means and understanding why this is right and why this is wrong. And then if you haven't have a proper moral compass developed, you're kind of lost in the sauce with it. But yeah, I can say like with me, like I said, in my 20s, I had to fight that battle of, dang, I had to stop looking at people because I'm like, their path is different than my path. And whatever the Lord blesses with me with, whatever he takes, he removes, he gives, whatever, I'm content with because I know he loves me and I know he's concerned about me. And he's only like whatever his will is not to put me in a bad position. It's only to grow me and make the next best version of me. And that's the important part, me. Mm-hmm. It's not nobody else. Whatever you got going on is you, but it's more in the story of me is the most important thing. So yeah. And the Lord, but me.
Okay. So we only had one card. So I'm sure this will pivot us into other directions though. Mm-hmm. So it says, can we discuss the pressure of being on social media when you're afraid to get sucked in, but you need to be visible for work or business?
You want to take it?
Okay. One more time. Can we discuss the pressure of being on social media when you're afraid to get sucked in, but you need to be visible for work or business?
This is a good one.
What you think? You want to go?
For me, it's again like I said earlier when we first started. Social media, it can be a really great tool because as we can see, social media in this day and age, especially, social media has offered people lifestyles that they probably wouldn't have gotten under normal circumstances. Mm-hmm. So it is a powerful tool. It's just up to how you use it. Mm-hmm. So if you're using it concerning your work and your business, keep it just for that. Set those parameters for themselves because a lot of it is a lot of the issues we have with social media isn't so much a matter of it being there and it having all that it has. It's a matter of the people controlling themselves. Mm-hmm. So it's the people controlling what they say, the people controlling the type of content they put out. It's not so much, the fact that you can post pictures and you can do this. It's the matter of what pictures are you posting? What are you doing when you get on there? What are you saying? Like, even with the jobs and stuff like that, now that jobs are the job's looking at what you're saying. They're not looking at the fact that you have a social media page. They're looking at the fact that what do you put on there when you're out posting? Are you saying craziness? Are you making offensive comments? Are you posting content that you shouldn't be? Or like putting up stuff that doesn't align with our business ultimately? So it's just a matter of how you use it, how you set it up. If you set it up for business, you can, even most accounts now, you can set up a business page and have it titled as a page just for business. And if you set it up and format it like that, I believe anyone who comes in contact with it will see it just as that.
A business tool. Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else want to add?
I think you mentioned this earlier, and you kind of hit on it too, Donovan. Understanding that some of the stuff that we see on the internet, not everything is what we see. Um, I had the privilege for a few years to pastor on the West Coast. And so to me, Los Angeles is like Sodom and Gomorrah. But you realize when you live in those kind of places that it's nothing to see a celebrity walking down the street.
Yeah.
But that celebrity that you see on the street doesn't look like the celebrity that's on the red carpet.
Mm-hmm.
And so sometimes we see these pictures and they think, oh man, they got flawless looks and stuff like that. But then when you see them in real life, you're like,
They look like a regular person.
they how they become a celebrity?
Pimples,
you know?
Yeah.
And so I think part of that, and kind of you were hitting on it, how do we teach our young people, even some of us older ones, that not everything you see is real?
Mm-hmm.
Especially
Okay.
especially with artificial intelligence now and stuff like, I mean, where they can just
Yeah.
take your voice
Yeah.
and a thing and make you look like you actually are saying something that you never said.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
It's crazy.
we live in a very different world than before.
So to that, I'll say, because I kind of compare it, like I said earlier, to me going from Christian school to public school because it was such a stark difference. And I tell people all the time, that have their children in Christian school and they're thinking about putting them in public school. I tell them it's fine as long as you give your child a foundation. And I think that's why I went to high school and I wasn't skipping class and doing what everybody else was doing, because my parents gave me a foundation. And like Dooney said, they taught us to know who we are so that when we go out into the world, you can't be swayed by what other people are telling you you should be. And I think the same applies for social media. If you're going to give your child access, because I got a Facebook when I was 15. That was my first thing I could have, a social media page I could have. And I wasn't, for a lot of kids are on there doing craziness, but I'm like, okay, I have this foundation for my life. And so after, I went through that little period of doing stuff I had no business doing. After I after I went through that period, I realized that I had ignored the foundation that my parents gave me. And so it wasn't a lack of them teaching me. It was just me wanting to touch the stove, even though they already told me it was hot. And so if you're thinking about, giving your child, or even you need to get on there for work or business. I know plenty of adults that don't participate in social media. It all works on an algorithm. So if you interact, it's gonna give you something to make you interact. So if you get on there and you click it and you're searching, the next time you get on there, they're gonna put that ad for Tory Burch because you already looked at it, and now you sucked in there. So it's also about self-control and governing yourself, because the internet can't take you. You got to go on there and let it take you. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, you had something to say?
Is it a form of idolatry, and when does it become that? When do you say it is? When does it become that?
So, is it a form of idolatry? Again, if you put with idolatry, when you put it on that pedestal and you give it that power, because remember, idolatry is just it starts with you.
Yeah.
You make it the idol. You put it up there. So when you put it on and you put it before God and that's when it becomes idolatry. Again, at the end of the day, these are just apps. Like how you said, it's an algorithm. But guess what? A human had to type up that algorithm. A person had to build that algorithm. It can't get to you without you going to it.
Right.
So when you give it that power, when you put it up there, that's when it starts to do it. And I want to answer the pastor's question real quick before. Oh yeah.
If I catch myself spending hours on TikTok and Facebook, Instagram, I don't even know what Snapchat was until earlier. But if I can spend all that time on social media, but yet I can't spend 5 minutes reading God's word or whatever. So to answer your question, it could very easily become an idol, because it's easy to sit back, what they say, scrolling all day long, looking at stuff. And then I sit back and I say, and the same thing I was saying today, we get ourselves like, oh man, you preaching too long. And I'm like, yeah, but we could sit and we watch a movie or we sit and watch TikTok and we don't even think about how much time we're spending. So it's very easy. Anything that goes above God, whether it's snap, whatever, could be idolatry.
Wait. We had Ludi. Can we do Ludi and then get to you? Okay.
Okay, so when I was in college, like my freshman year, that's when Facebook came out, right? And it was only for college students. And my room and my home has always been the spot where everybody hangs out, right? And my mom had me hooked up, so I had the whole computer and everything. And so everybody in the dorm would come to my room to come on the computer to get on Facebook. I still have a Facebook account. Long story short, I got through college, and when I graduated college, I had 1,500 friends. That's in 2009 on Facebook. Of course, I didn't know everybody, but I'm a people person, right? And what I started seeing was even in my dorm room, I found out that there was some people who I didn't want to have access to me, who had access to me through Facebook. And I mean access like saving pictures that I'd posted and on their personal situations and, kind of keeping them for themselves. And for somebody who came, like if we grew up pretty sheltered, and you find out, that somebody has a picture of you and they're, who knows what they're using it for, but that person is interested in you, but you don't know that person. It's scary. So that's when I created boundaries for myself a year later. And I started working and I got off of Facebook. And I've been off of social media. I haven't been on social media since 2010 because I still have that fear. So my boundary is not being on it at all. But now I'm approaching a business where everyone is telling me, you have to be on social media in order to be successful. And I am very much a people person. I know that I would, I'd probably, do well on that. And I know it seems like, okay, I should be able to create those boundaries, keep it a business page, block those who are offensive, things like that. But I also know that people spend trillions of dollars in order to invade and cross those boundaries. You know what I mean? So to me, it's scary. I still to this day, I do not want to be on social media. But now I'm feeling very much pressured to be on social media. And I know I can try to set those boundaries, but I'm still scared of people having access that I don't want them to have. So how do I deal with that fear/anxiety? Oh, by the way, the answer that God is not a God of fear. I need a little more than that. Okay.
Okay, you want to answer that question about how to handle her anxiety?
Wait, let me get the question. So you said the question, if I'm clear, is like, how do I get over that fear of that something? Well, okay, so this is an interesting one. So to me, that question almost kind of relates to, it falls into that same, like, people who have a fear of germs and type thing. If you fully understood that the fact that you cannot escape those things, you would really, the fear wouldn't exist. Because part of the like the so for the germaphobes in here, please don't be offended, but they're literally everywhere. They're in the air, they're everywhere. But the thing is, it's also, the thing about it is, and this is because I'm a science, so I kind of always relate it a little bit science. Thing about it is, you also need those germs to build your immune system. Because if you don't have that exposure, you will never be able to defend yourself properly from it. So, so with social media, because if you have a phone, if you own a computer, if you have a bank account, all that stuff is basically already there. So it's like the fear almost. I don't want to tell you your fear is illogical, but it is in a sense, because it's like if they really want to access it, it's already there. Your presence is already built. You just don't have a social media page. So I don't want to tell you. I want to tell you, do it in your own, pray about it, and do it at your own pace. Like, don't feel like you have to jump into it, especially if it's there. Do it when you feel like you're being moved properly, not off of the pressures of the people around you.
And I'll add to that, there are tools created for that. Like, you've heard of VPNs, but there are ones that go a little bit more further, and they help you kind of get some of that personal information that people might be, Facebook might be selling, because it is illegal for them to take your information and sell it. But because we don't know who's doing it, when they're doing it, why they're doing it, where they're doing it, we don't ever think about it. But if you go on Google, do a little search, I think you'll be able to find some things that might ease your mind about it. It might not, completely take away the fear, but it might make you feel a little bit more safe. So, just Google that.
And then we have a responsibility ourselves. My mom used to get on my case. She's like, son, you ain't got to put your whole life on Facebook.
Yeah, say that again.
And I never really got it because I felt like I was young, but she's like, you telling people where you going
Yeah.
and what you're doing, which means that if somebody wants to rob your house, they know you're not there.
Correct.
They know you traveling, whatever kind of thing. So I think part of the responsibility is us saying, I got to be careful what I do put out there. But I will go as far as to say this when it comes to, like, even for us as a church. If we don't have a presence online, then you really don't exist. The couple that came today, they said, we came to your church because we went online and we put in Seventh-day Adventist Church, and this church popped up. So there is sometimes, I call it a necessity to be available, but what we put out there, we got to be careful about what we do with that.
I'll say also, social media is now the new word of mouth. So even if you have a business and you're telling people about it and you have a good local base, unfortunately, it's not going to take you as far as social media will. But I will say this also, you don't have to put your face on there. You don't have to put your full name. You don't have to put that type of stuff for people to see. Will you have to enter for, login purposes? Yes. But if you, yeah, that too. So you don't have to.
I watched y'all for 4 months. Y'all know who I was.
So yeah, it is the new word of mouth. And these businesses are, we're in the age of entrepreneurship and, small business ownership. And unfortunately, social media is the tool. It is the tool. We can talk as much as we want. We can put up signs, but that's how you're going to reach people. And I think also if you put out positivity, you're mostly going to get positivity back. So, because, as people, we kind of naturally congregate to where what we feel connected to. And so if someone's like, okay, I feel good vibes, good energy, this is something I believe in, this is a cause I like, that's mostly the people that you're going to get. The negative stuff is usually with the negative stuff. The negative people, they gravitate to the negative things. So I think it's about the presence that you put on the internet. And like I said, those few tools that can make you feel a little bit safer. Yeah.
Absolutely. So I wanted to piggyback.
Miss Nadine, and then I'll go. You sure? Okay, go ahead.
I wanted to piggyback on what you said about algorithms, and you reminded me a couple of things. Number one, whether it's Netflix, whether it's social media, all these things give you, and things similar, all these things give you an opportunity to decide how you're going to feed your inner man. And why I say that is because I remember I picked one show that was dark, and it caused all of the shows that showed up on my Netflix to become dark. And I was like, I don't understand. I was running from it. I didn't understand the concept of algorithm yet. And I spoke to one of my teachers, and she explained it to me. I said, oh my goodness. So now when you're on the internet, whether it's social media, whatever the case is, it's the same thing. So those algorithms speak to your inner man. If you, whatever you search, like you said, that's what's going to come back to you. So what you said was critical when you said positivity, you get positivity back. But I want to challenge you all to do this because I did it and it helped me to see myself. I started using a timer to time myself as to how long I was spending on the internet so that I could, and when it went off, and I said, oh my goodness, look how much time is passed, it caused me to say, you need to put that down and go find you something to do. And then I timed how long I spent in the word. I timed how long I pray. And I said, there's a stark difference. There's something that's got to change today. And so I think that when you start deciding that you want to slide back in, like we've all been saying, like money, internet, it's all a tool. It's the way you use it. So maybe if you use a timer to say, okay, I'm going in there to promote my business. This is all that I'm doing, and I get off. Then that might be a way to protect yourself. My family knows I stay off social media. I have one account, and it's only family. That's it. Because I don't want that. I don't need that in my life, and I'm not trying to impress nobody either. So I understand where you're coming from, but anything in this life, whether it's germs and we slowly come out and expose ourselves, what you said was so fire when you said that germs are all around you, but you also need the germs to build your immunity. We can't connect with anyone if we keep ourselves too much in a bubble. Our purpose is to be out there so that people can be attracted to the Lord and say, oh, this is where I need to be with Jesus, because you showed me what it looks like to love Jesus. That's all I want to share.
Mhm. I think there was a question you asked, Pastor. It was about, it was something to do with the kids and how do you teach the kids to separate the real from the fake, basically, something like that. It was something along those lines. Sorry, it was something along those lines. Am I wrong? Okay, so with that question, I would say, because I wanted to answer it, because I feel like it's a really good question, and I feel like it's something that we really need to focus more on. I would say it's teaching them the value of the interactions and the people around them. And I feel like with social media, a big issue is we've lost the value of those people around you, because we're more concerned about the amount of people looking at you as opposed to the amount of people who actually physically touch you and who are near you and who whose connections really value, because a lot of those are pointless. A lot of those are pointless connections. A lot of those interactions and things don't usually go anywhere and don't amount to much. Now there are some that do, but however, just teaching them that, like, again, I feel like with the pandemic, a big thing happened is we lost connection. We lost that one-to-one interaction. Everything had to be at a distance and social distance and everything. Not to say that social distancing was wrong, but for a lot of kids who are still in those critical developmental ages, they lost a lot of good stuff that come from talking to somebody and interacting with somebody. And then it's also like their interaction with you. Because I say a big thing. My mom says it. She still says it to this day. She was like, because you were like, it was something you said, like, how do you know it's real? It's like, or how do you, with the AI, you said something like people can copy your voice and stuff like that. My mom said, your character perceives you. And she was like, no one, they can hear whatever, but your character will speak for you. So now, if you get a call from me and you hear words and things and conversations, sentences I've never said, or I know I don't talk like that, you wouldn't know. And it's that character, it's that getting to know the people around you and knowing and being able to discern, like developing your discerning spirit. So they have to learn, we have to help them develop a discerning spirit to know when certain things just aren't for you, when they're not servicing you properly, when when it's just too much. You have to really pull back, you have to filter, because it can also just be like, sometimes it's not even always bad, it just can be overwhelming. So it's just really building that foundation of teaching them how to properly communicate, teaching what good communication looks like, teaching them what a good interaction looks like, teaching them to understand this is how someone should speak to you, not like this. These are words when you hear, you should be excited or what. Just teaching them that proper association to things and understanding that, I guess, in a sense.
I think even though I was asking the question, another part of it is being satisfied with yourself. I think you mentioned that with your thing. And the reason I brought it up is because I'll never forget the experience. There's a very famous actress. I won't say her name because I don't know if we're streaming. But when you see this person online, you think that they're just perfect, But when I saw them in real life, I was like, that's what a Kardashian. No, I'm sorry. I'm being honest. I was like, wait a minute, that's not what I see all the time. And so what I'm saying for our young people is realizing that not everything you see all the time is what it really is. And getting them to say, okay, look, I may not look like this person, but I'm okay with who I am. God made me me. So that's what I mean.
And that's another thing. Self-love. Teach your children self-love. Teach your children that they're enough in just about every capacity. Because I was talking to someone the other day, and I was like, you know what? I don't want to ever feel like I'm never satisfied. I don't ever want to be in that point, because another thing in social media that you kind of taught is like hustle culture, and just you have to keep going. Everything, you have to be on the next come up. You have to be. It can wear you out. Even I remember I think I saw it in for the Steve Harvey lovers out there, don't hate me, but I remember I saw a clip of Steve Harvey. And he was like, if you're not making X amount of dollars, you shouldn't be getting X amount of sleep or whatever, whatever. And I'm like, is for someone who's more so like, I'm gonna do what I'm gonna do, and you just have to feel how you feel, that's where I am with my thought process. It could be like whatever, like, okay, you're saying that, all right, go ahead, Steve, go off.
Mhm.
But for someone who's like who really like looks at him as a figure and who really like thinks his word is law, you will run yourself dry
Yeah.
trying to capture, knowing that Steve probably, I hate to say it, but Steve probably got all his sleep. Steve probably gets 8 hours of sleep even when he was broke. So I'm just that's that's the thing. And I'm like, they get it, like that's where you like you said, Pastor, the real from the fake. You have to be able to discern, because it'll destroy you. So that and saying that, yeah, like I forget what the point I was going towards. I got lost. Steve Harvey threw me off. But yes, get your sleep, and also, yeah, teach them, help them to understand that what they see is enough. And if you don't like it, you can put in the proper work towards it. But at the same time, why don't you like it? That's another part. Understand, what is it, something you don't like because you saw someone else, you see someone else and you're mirroring them, or is it something you don't like because is it something you can change? Just understanding themselves and understanding that what they have and what they see and what they are is enough. It's enough. And that's part. Being satisfied. I want to, I always want to be content, but I always want to be pushing towards whatever I'm pushing towards. So always being content. So wherever I'm at, I want to be satisfied with it, but not content. That's the word. Satisfied with it, but not content in the sense of, if there is something more that I want, going towards it in a sense. But if I'm good, I'm good. And then if I stay here, I'm chilling. But if I know I can do more and I know I have the capacity to do more, why not do more? So that's what I'm at.
Okay, I guess my question is, with so many influencers now that are couples, their children, they don't really see a work ethic. So how is that going to affect them in the future?
So the celebrity children don't see a work ethic?
Not just celebrities, just people, there are influencers on.
Wait. Do they not see a work?
That's okay. So because if
I guess what
don't
I'm
know,
saying is, we're used to seeing parents
You get up and go to
work.
So,
8 hour,
right.
You know what I'm saying?
So I think the work ethic is just a different type of work ethic.
Okay.
Because I'm gonna tell you this: these people get up. They get up at 5 o'clock in the morning, 4 o'clock in the morning. They set up, they stage their bedroom so they can do their get ready with me, wake up with me, see how I go to work, see how it may not be going to a job and standing on your feet all day, but I think most of the work comes in the planning. So they sit down and they write scripts. These people write scripts, and then they make money to go buy their $4,000 cameras, and it's work. Not only is it work, it's emotional work. Because imagine if you're waking up every day and you have to share your entire life with other people.
So how does that affect a child?
It's exploitation. It exploits them, and it doesn't give them any sense of privacy and being your own person, because your worth comes from how much content you can produce. Because I've watched videos, oh my goodness, these moms, they're like recording with their daughter, they're like setting up something that they bought, whatever, and in between takes, they're screaming at the children, you didn't do that right, you're not smiling in the picture, you didn't say your lines correctly. And there's a mom right now, she had a family channel, she has like 7 kids or something like that, and behind the scenes she was like depriving her children of dinner.
Oh no.
Because they didn't want to do this. She was terrible, and she's now in jail. She's in prison, and she's going to stay there because she sent her son to a camp in the middle of the woods that's supposed to be like a retreat, but it's really like reform camp. And they were basically abusing the children at the camp, and even in their own home they were abusing their children. The children had tape around their arms. She had them tied up in a room. She had them kept in a cage. She just doing crazy stuff. And she did all of this in the name of having a social media presence and making money. But she was a millionaire. She's a millionaire. She made millions of dollars
From social
off
media.
of exploiting her children.
Wow.
And those children, some of them were very small, and she also had teenagers. And they're going to have mental issues for the rest of their life. That is going to affect them for the rest of their life, no matter how much therapy they get, because it damaged them psychologically. So these children, if you want to be a content creator, if you want to do that, you have to do it in a healthy way, because we all know children are they're sponges, and they're the most impressionable people. So, like we were talking about earlier, that's why I said watch your kids, because anything they hear, anything they see that they see other people doing, they're going to do it. They're going to put it out, and they don't understand the connotations of what they do. So, these content creators, but children that are putting their children out there, is it bad necessarily? No. But if you're exploiting your children, then yes, it's bad, and they're going to be affected by that for the rest of their life. So, and their whole life is on the internet. Their birth till now is on the internet. Like, I've seen videos where people record their whole birthing process. They go to the hospital, they have the baby, and that child has been on the internet from 0 to however old they are now. So it is scary, and it is harmful for them, and they will feel affected by it. So, yeah.
And then with the work ethic part, like I said, it's still a job in a sense, because you still have to make a living. I mean, unless you're homeless, you have to make a living. So it's still work and effort, but like you said, it's a different type of work ethic. But then again, also, if you know that you don't want your child to pursue this or whatever, a big part is you instill the work ethic into your child. Because in school and stuff like that, how do you push them? Where do they go with that? How do you handle them? How do you set parameters for them? What are their chores? What are they like? It's a lot of. The sad part is social media is raising kids when parents should be, and that's the sad part. A lot of kids are being raised by social media. So then when you hear because Kai is a teacher, I'm a teacher too. When I hear kids make certain comments and stuff like that, it's like, I always say, like, back when I was, we always used to do like little stuff. But we knew like boundaries. We had parameters. We knew how far we could go. And it's like these days, kids they don't have anything. The amount of things a child has come up to me and asked me and said, and like I would never say to a teacher or ask a teacher, because I already knew how my parents would respond to that. If they got a call home saying my teacher asked me, your child asked me this, it's just like it don't even make sense. But it's because a lot of these kids get comfortable seeing different dynamics. Even with this new I don't even trend of teachers getting attacked and hit with chairs and stuff. They think that's okay because they keep seeing it, and it's like it's almost being normalized. But there's nothing normal about that. No, there's nothing normal about it, and I'm not for it personally, because I'm just like, I feel like an adult is an adult to me, and I always want to. I think I told my nephew that just the other day. I was like, listen, you don't disrespect the adult. You ride out the moment, whatever. Let your parents do the disrespecting. But so let your parents handle it. Like I knew I couldn't do certain stuff. I had to let my parents handle it. And it's all that going back to the parents have to take the lead. Social media has to take the lead. And that's the sad part. Social media tells them what they believe in. Social media tells them what their thoughts are. Social media tells them what songs they like. Social media tells them what's the hot topic for right now. There's no independent thought process, and that's my biggest thing. Kids, a lot of these days, especially if you're in a classroom, kids want you to think for them.
No.
They want you to sit there and go through the entire thought process for them. I tell them this. They're over here they're like, okay, so now what do I do next? The directions are there. Everything's there. You have to think. I tell them regularly, I will not think for you.
No.
You have to think for yourself. I'm not going to do the assignment for you. I paid my dues. I did my time. Now it's time for you to do it. And that's the sad. Like, you have to. It's something you're not going to avoid. And I try and teach them that also, because I'm like, as an adult, you just don't avoid it. None of this is avoided. Like the work ethic, all that. Those are things you have to encounter. You have to face.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So I was going to say that there's a lot of people who've ministered into my life that, children are so resilient. So regardless of what they're seeing their parents do, they can still learn work ethic from other places in other ways. Like when a child goes to school, you work, you study, and your currency is the grade, or they'll see their uncles, or they'll come to church and see someone else and know what they do, or their grandfathers and things like that. So, or like Dooney said, like at home doing chores and things like that. So they learn work ethic and within life experience. And I'm also of the strong belief that, I, there are children like Simone Biles, her mother wasn't in the picture her entire life, but there were enough adults in her life to make her become successful. Barack Obama, like with, his parental dynamic and people who stepped into his life, it just depends. Like there are kids who, whose parents work super hard every day. They never, example, my cousin is a neurosurgeon. His kids never see him. They never see him. And one of them works from home. She kind of does her own thing. She's an entrepreneur, kind of bohemian type. And the other one is a very hard worker. He's a software engineer, But they didn't. It's not like they knew that their father worked, but they just knew it. They didn't actually see him doing anything because he wasn't around to do it. So they'll learn work ethic one way or another, even if not directly from their parents immediately.
Just make sure they have a village. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then also with work ethic goes both ways. You don't want them to be a workaholic, but you also don't want them to think that they don't have to work at all. You want to balance. With everything is balance. Even with social media, it requires balance. You have to, like Pastor said, you have to know when you're feeding yourself too much of that and not enough of the word or whatever. And granted, listen, we are not perfect, because I even when he said, I'm like, yeah, I probably have given social media a lot of my time. I probably have scrolled for too long. Not even probably, I know I have. And it's just it's a struggle, but it's a struggle. I would rather push for something better as opposed to saying this is enough and this is good enough.
Okay, I'm gonna take this last one from Miss Dana, Auntie Dana, and we're gonna start wrapping up.
I came in late, so I'm just assuming we're talking about some type of internet or something like that.
You're correct.
From what I gather,
You got it, Pop.
that's what we're talking about. So, I don't know. You know how some people everybody has rather their own vices, and so, and it depends on the individual. Some people say, this is what I do. I love to garden. That's my vice. I do that every afternoon. I spend hours and hours and hours gardening. Other people, they, whatever it is, whatever their thing is, that is what they do. So I know that, I would say like during COVID, and and it's not even during COVID. It's kind of something that has ramped up to what it is now. So, like if I ask a question, who still has a house phone? Anybody still has a house phone?
A house phone.
But based on a landline. So based on the amount of people that's in here, we know that is almost obsolete. And when we ask who still has cable, you know what I mean? You see the numbers, like, so now everyone is kind of the masses are the majority, I would say, are kind of streaming. So I think that some of the things that we do are based upon the times that we're living in.
Yeah.
So like I no longer watch TV. I haven't watched TV in a couple of years. Why? Because we walk around with TVs in our possession every day. You don't need a TV, right? So, and also with, mostly everything, anytime, if you want to catch a show, you can catch a show right at work. If you want to watch something, social media, and like, they were talking about the algorithm. I spend a lot of time on social media, but it's either working because I spend a lot of time on it at work. And that right there, trust me, is not on purpose. I got to be there. That's what they said I had to do. So I got to do it. So that's one thing. But when I come home, because I've been tight and my shoulder's been like this all day, for me to kind of, relax, I want to do something that makes me, I like to participate in things that make me laugh. So anybody who knows me know that I need a good from the gut laugh every day. So based upon what I watch, that's what I receive, you know? So, I mean, it's just, I don't think, and again, like I said, I don't think it's all bad. It's just based upon some of the things that you're not interested in, you just keep scrolling, you know? I know that like Sean, you know, she's very into, you know, health and wellness. And I watch those a lot, right? I watch those a lot about, you know, what you can do and, you know, everything. So it's something out there for everyone. It's even a lady on there that's telling children's stories, believe it or not. I ran across that the other day. Children, like Bible children's stories. And she's drawing the graphics behind, like it's nice. You know what I mean? So it's something out there for everybody. I just think that everything we do has to be done in moderation. That's basically what it is, you know? So I mean, I know I'm not gonna miss work because I've stayed up late watching, you know, something on my social media. I'm not gonna do that. I'll just take my phone to work and watch it at work.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. And the point, that's why I tried early on to just to make sure we're not vilifying social media, because social media is not the issue. There is a lot of good information out there. The social media gives you exposure to things. I would have never known what Greece looked like had I not been able to go on social media and see someone go on a Grecian trip. I would have never known that I want to go visit Colorado and go skiing if I had not seen somebody out there skiing. Even when it was on TV, those things, they're good for exposure. It's good for giving you different things. It's showing you different things, especially if you come from a neighborhood where you only see a certain statistic, you only see a certain dynamic. When you come from certain things that you can only see, it's good for that access to see other things, to notice other things, and to be able to, yeah. However, that's where you hit a very good point, Dana. You know that you're not going to miss work because you're up scrolling. The kids are the biggest issue. They don't know that a lot of them haven't been built that governing component. And that's where the parents have to come in and teach. Like, I remember growing up, we had a bedtime. Rhonda used to enforce it every night. There was a cutoff for certain things. It's like that's the biggest thing, because they don't have those governing components within them. They don't know, okay, wait, I need to go to bed at this time because I got to get up because I got to go here. Wait, I need to stop so I can do this because this needs to be done by tomorrow. Because they don't have that, that's where social media can become the problem. Because social media itself is not the enemy. It's not a weapon. It doesn't become a weapon. Doesn't even become a weapon until it's put in the hands of the wrong person. Because if you put a gun in the hands of somebody ignorant, it might hurt somebody. Don't get me wrong. But if they don't know what they're doing, more than likely there's a good chance nothing will happen. But you put they'll hurt themselves. But you put the guns in the hand of somebody who knows how to use it and who has ill intentions, guess what? Someone gonna die. So same thing with social media. You put it in the hands of the wrong people or people who don't know how to handle it, they'll end up hurting somebody or themselves. Hence cyberbullying and all that other stuff.
Okay, so I promise this one is the last one. Okay, then we have one question.
I mean, this is a very relevant topic, and I commend you guys for having this live discussion. How does somebody know when someone is addicted, and how do you address social media addiction? How do you know when you are addicted, and how do you address social media addiction? Because average, I did some research a few years ago, the average young person, your son and your daughters, average, they spend about 8 to 9 hours on social media daily. So average between 8 and 9 hours. So, but what is social media addiction, and how do you combat and overcome social media addiction?
Okay, so someone has their hand up. To answer. So
I would say with this, it's not. I won't even say it's so much when it comes to as far as adults. Now the kids that we have to step in, but with adults, I would say for yourself, when you get off something and you almost are itching to get back onto, you probably spent too much time with that. Like with pineapple, when you eat too much, your tongue starts itching. That's when you probably eating too much pineapple. With social media, if you're itching, if you're going through withdrawals, you probably want to pull back. Go ahead, Danny.
Um, I think I can identify some of the issues when you're addicted to social media, simply because I had to catch myself. And these are two things that I've identified. One, I noticed that what I was doing is that when I lay down in the bed and my eyes are tired, I would still grab my phone and I would still jump on TikTok, and I'm sleepy. I am sleepy. My eyes are hurting, but I have to see a video or something to before I go to. I have to, and no, no, it's not the same thing as watching TV falling asleep. I promise you, it's not. No, 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 it's not, because I made a conscious effort to grab my phone. I'm no, I'm sleepy. Then the next thing is when I open my eyes in the morning, the first thing I do is grab, and this is almost embarrassing to say this, before I even say thank you, Lord, for waking me up. I grab my phone and I'm scrolling. That's an addiction, because it's the last thing I do before I go to bed and the first thing I do before I wake up. And I'm like, and what happened is the Holy Spirit had to check me. He said, what he said to me was like, you want me to help you out and give you all these things, but how can you hear my voice and you have other things occupying your time? And when he checked me, I had to be like, all right, God, all right, this, you ain't had to come that hard, but okay, I got you. You know what I'm saying? And that's one of the things. And the other sign that I noticed was I press the social media icon and not even know I pressed it. Like I'm there and it's like, oh, I'm on Facebook. Oh my, how did I get here? And I'm like, whoa, like, and you're scrolling for, as you said, hours on social media, and I'm like, this is not good. How do we stop it? How do we? It's very difficult.
It is.
It's very difficult. I'm not going to lie, it's not difficult, but you have to realize that this thing is taking place of quality time with family and God. And myself, right? And myself, and I'm hurting myself because it goes into a whole another aspect of things. But that's the identifying of some of the way if something is addicting. Now, did I answer the question how you handle it? Not really, but
How
maybe
you
somebody else
handle it?
can.
I mean,
I was gonna
as far
touch
as
on
the
it.
adults, like Danny said, because think about it, Danny is a grown man. Danny's a grown man, and he had to really go and check himself. Now imagine expecting a child to do that, who has no sense of none of what he has. So now for the parents with the kids, please feel free to take your kid's phone, because guess what? They pull it out in my classroom. It's took. I told them it's took,
Period.
and I'm not fighting nobody for no phone. I told them you could either give it to me or security could take you and it out of here. Do what you want to do.
All right,
But,
so
yeah.
we have two responses to the question.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, for me, I noticed when I was on there a little bit too much, especially TikTok, when it says, "I think you've been on here too long." Yeah, you've been scrolling for quite some time.
There
It
is
is
a
time to
TikTok.
go to bed. See you tomorrow.
There is a TikTok that will
TikTok.
tell you that. Yes.
Yeah. What? Yeah. Yeah.
But you're addicted when you see that and you still keep scrolling.
And I have. Okay. Okay. I'm gonna accept my situation. I see her and I'd be like, oh, she right. And I'll keep scrolling, right? Or I'll take it and I'll put it down. But you're right. That's the first thing that you do. That's the last thing you do. So yeah. But to come back on what you were saying about what do you do when your kids, my question was to my friend here, I was like, the kids are not in school, because I understand that when you're in school, and I guess this is just a Christian education, your phone wasn't supposed to be out type of thing. And I guess that's not the case today.
No, in schools, you're not supposed to.
Okay. Well, your phone is not supposed to be out, type of thing. And then the second thing is, I guess my son is 6, so I give him a time, but if he is doing what he's not supposed to do, spare the rod, spoil the child, that type of thing. Like,
A child?
Uh-huh. This is a safe place. So yeah. So
very
we, so
safe
yeah,
place.
we can. Well, give me that phone.
Yes.
Okay, just checking. But that's how I run this household. All right.
Amen. Oh wait.
right,
Before
so
you get started,
I
Miss
have-
Natalie, let me just say something real quick.
Okay, go ahead.
Because with the addiction thing, like alcoholism, there's a difference between a drinking problem and being an alcoholic. So even with social media and stuff, there's a difference between you having maybe an issue with spending too much time on it and being addicted. So don't all y'all label yourselves as addicts. No, you might have a problem. You might just need to pull it back. But
He
there
has a
are
point.
there
He
are
has a point.
addictions with social media. So
Okay.
I just wanted to make sure to specify that, so we're not just labeling ourselves as social media addicts. Go ahead.
Thank you, science teacher. But for those who might, if you ever get a diagnosis, I have a suggestion. So when I was at West End in Atlanta, I was on the counseling team, and we got trained in a 12-step program for hurts, habits, and hangups. It's the same 12 steps for Alcoholics Anonymous and everything. So we had once a week meetings for people. So it was very all-encompassing. So it could, everybody had whatever your issues. But again, I think it was an excellent program. Hurts, habits, and hangups. But the main issue that people got caught up in was looking around at who was at the meetings and saying so-and-so going to talk about me, and then they would stop coming. But if people are really serious about that, that would be an option that the church could.
Can I just address one point real quick? Because Miss Natalie said something that was so profound. It's so very true. And you said you were in person and people were looking around and commenting on who was at the meeting. Where does that also happen? On social media. No. It happens. That's the thing. It happens in real life as well as it happens on social media. So that's why a big thing, we have to teach ourselves who matters, what matters, and why it matters. Don't be so just because a comment was made, just because something negative, or just because you didn't get seen by the thing, it doesn't matter. We have to build that component in ourselves, and then we have to build it into the kids as well. That way they know that they're not swayed by certain stuff. Because like you said, it happened in real life. It didn't even happen on an internet page. It happened in a written person at a meeting that you spoke with grown adults. So now think about it. There you go. So again,
So-
social media is not the enemy.
The last thing I will say before I give the mic over to the pastor and he closes for us, when it comes to okay, Miss Nadine and then the pastor will close. With the addiction, or your kids being on there 8, 9 hours a day, like I said earlier, there are tools. The internet is a crazy place, but it does offer you tools that are so useful for life. Get them on that screen time app, and that phone will cut off after they've been on there for 3 hours, or after they have exceeded their time, the phone will shut off. If you want to get them on kids' YouTube to screen out all the foolishness and the mess, you can do that. You want to get them on kids' Netflix to weed out the foolishness, you can do that. So use the internet to your advantage. Use it for the tools that it offers. And so I'll hand it over to Miss Nadine, and then the pastor will take us to close.
I just wanted to take the time to commend you two. I am. Let me tell you something. You two have demonstrated your foundation today. That's what you did. Sean and I, when we do this because we're trying to build a village, not realizing the village is right here. You are part of this village. You're helping us to produce the village. And Sean, I'm sure you're in agreement with me. We need to do more of this where we have others take the lead and others go ahead and share the knowledge and the experience. I want to thank you because unfortunately in my position, I've had to send children to be Baker acted. I've never heard that side. I want to thank you for that. I want to thank you for helping us to, it's like when you say, it's one thing for me and Sean to say, but when you say, you impact the young people. So I want to thank you for your wisdom. I want to thank you for what you shared today. I want to thank you how you're reminding us of things we already know, but hearing it from you, it hit different. So I just wanted to say thank you.
All right. We want to thank Montel and Oprah. You know, sit down for a second. Yes, Donnie. Okay. So, so, so because we're friends, I'm just gonna say the look that you just got. I'm gonna be there to watch to make sure if you need to do some counseling after. We got you. But listen, guys, again, I want to say thank you to these guys. We sometimes don't realize, and I think that's the thing with addictions. You don't realize that it's an addiction. But when we're spending that much time at night or in the morning, the first thing, like you, and I had to check myself when I was in my Jonah days, and I'm literally saying, wait a minute, before I'm studying my Bible, if I was studying my Bible, I'm spending hours on Facebook, hours on TikTok, and seeing the little woman, oh, you've been here too long, and it don't mean nothing. That's when you got to ask yourself, okay, well, what am I really doing? So thank you guys. I really appreciate the Can We Talk. I would love to do this all the time. We talk all the time. So can we talk? Let's come on talk. Okay. So let's close out with prayer, and then we're gonna go right into our vision talking. Yes, ma'am. Yes. Oh, okay. Fine. Let's close out. Father in heaven, Lord, we thank you so much for this time together. Thank you, Lord, for our young people. Thank you, Lord, for sharing with us and helping us to see the impacts of social media, both its positive and its negative. And we ask, Lord, for your guidance and your direction so that the tools that we have available to us, we use in the right way so that others might see you. This is our prayer, and we pray it in Jesus' name. Amen. I'm laughing because I have to tell you, I'm that parent, you know, like we have three boys, three sons, and I'm just honest with you, they come in, they're like closing doors in the house. And I'm like, ain't no closed doors in my house. It's my house. So I walk in. I don't care what you do. It's my house. So when you get out of my house, then you do what you want to do. All right, and that's how I operate. So listen, we don't have to be long with this. I appreciate you all being here. What I simply wanted to do, I want you to know how I am as a pastor. I don't believe that I come and I just tell you this is what we're going to do. I've seen that happen, and I realize that that's probably not the best way for things to happen. Now, I also understand that my role as leader is to share vision, but I also understand that good leaders know how to lead from behind. So what I wanted to do was just spend a little bit of time and get from you, okay, Pastor, we honest. Look, you're here. You've been given responsibility for the church. But let's be honest, the day is going to come when you're not going to be here. But y'all are going to be here. So what I like to do is sit down and say, okay, you know Salem better than Pastor Mack will ever know Salem. Hopefully I get to be here for a long time. But you will know the church. So what I want to do is find out, what do you see when we talk about Salem? See, I come in and I have what I call right now fresh eyes. And can I be honest? We're talking as family, right? So as family, when I come in with fresh eyes and I see, and these guys saw it the first night I snuck in here, and I was like, why the place so dark? And we actually came in here with a ladder and start changing light bulbs, So I'm looking at stuff and I'm like, I'm seeing the cobwebs. We're being real, right? We're talking as family, okay? I'm seeing the stuff where it's like, I wouldn't get in that baptismal pool until we clean that baptismal pool. Can I just be real? The first Sabbath I was here, Now, I didn't go into the female restroom, but I have a family. So when I'm told, when you go back, look at the female restroom. And I went into the female restroom on that Sunday. And I'm just going to tell you, I was embarrassed. Okay? I'm saying to you guys, I see some things. I also see some potential. Remember the first sermon? We can see the problems, but right now we want to focus on the possibilities and the potential. In order for us to grow and do some things, there's some things we need to address. I'm be honest, we don't have a evangelistic series, but I know how I am. Would Kelby invite his best friend who may look at him and be like, yeah, it's truth, but carpet is all dirty and what's going, I'm just being real, okay? So what do you see when you see Salem? And not just the physical, everything, and I'm gonna share a few afterward, when we talk about the land and stuff like that. But I just want to kind of get from you, are we okay with that? We've gotten okay. We become complacent. Okay, all right. What do you see? What else? I mean, our young people, all that kind of, what do we see when we see Salem? Duty?
What we've heard before is Salem's insane potential, especially with where we're located in our community. So what I see for Salem is a group of people, like a community that can branch out, bring more people in, and kind of save our community, because we can see the gentrification kind of working its way right into where we are. So I see Salem out there getting with Bethlehem, which is 3 blocks down the way, and getting with, Ely High School, and getting with the locals in the area, and doing fun things for the kids, and going out, setting up situations where we can vote and choose and have a say in who our local legislators are. So I see Salem doing all those things. We do a lot of those things.
Okay.
But I feel like we can, with more unity, we can do this on a much grander scale. You know what I mean? Because we do a lot. The community knows us. We had somebody who we reached out to with a program that Sister Bryant led or whatever. And she's been visiting on and off since that day.
Is that Murray?
Yes.
I went to visit her across the street today.
Yes. So
we have an appointment for Tuesday.
Yeah,
She's going to take me and invite me and show me some people around the church.
And that's beautiful, and I told her one time, we were on the prayer line, I was like, we prayed for you that night. You had no idea, because we noticed that you had come back and that kind of thing. And I was like, and we mentioned you, and we prayed for you. And she nearly cried just knowing. I was like, yeah, baby. I was like, if you ever sitting by yourself and you feel warmth around you, we hugging you. We're praying for you.
I'll just share something with you all. So when I met her today, we were talking over at lunch, and I introduced, I said, well, I'm Pastor Max. She said, I know who you are. She said, I see when your car comes. And she said, and a few of the neighbors, we've been saying, well, that's the pastor. He drives the BMW. So people are paying attention to what's going on around. She said to me today, she said, you don't know this, but we watched you walk over there and pick up trash. And she said, that was the thing where I knew, I said, I got to come talk to him. Because she said, you saw trash and you just start picking it up. Because to me, when I come to Salem, I'm just being honest with you, even if nobody's here, the building is saying something. The grounds are saying something to people nearby. By the way, I got to just say that the sign is saying something. The sign saying something to me, like, we got to fix this like right now. But when people pass by here, what they see, the parking lot, it's saying something to people. So that's why I'm asking you, if we're comfortable with that, just tell me. I need to know. I just need you to know I'm not comfortable with that as your pastor. And so I'm saying, look, we have to help drive this thing in the right direction, because God expects excellence in all that he does. So that means how we teach from Sabbath school, how we deal with service, how we are in the community, what our facilities look like. We want to represent God in all that we do. I shared this with Sister Susan this morning. I'll just let you guys talk after that. I've been pastoring for a long time, 27 years. And I know, and you tell me if I'm wrong or right. People, when they come, they're not necessarily new believers because they've been a part of other churches. And the truth is, if you get a chance to visit some of our Sunday churches, they're immaculate. I mean, you walk in, they're pristine, they keep everything nice. And the truth is, I can get up here and I can preach till I'm blue in the face, and that's going to be a lot with my dark skin. I can run revelation seminars and all that kind of stuff, and somebody will say, it's truth, but psychologically, they cannot see themselves leaving where they are and coming to something where it's not like that. That's a very difficult thing. Am I right or wrong? And that's part of what we miss sometimes because we're just thinking we're complacent, so we're okay, so everybody else should be okay. We got to learn to let it go so that we can grow. Okay? So that's what I'm saying. This is not a nitpicking thing. I don't want you to think that. What this is how can we take Salem to the next level? What is it that we see? Because when I see Salem, I see a place, I'm being honest with you, and this is not this crazy. I see a place of having 400 plus members in this church every Sabbath. A place where hurting people, I like how you said it, hurting, hurts habits. People have issues. We all have issues, but it doesn't matter who comes in here. We don't give them strange looks and that kind of stuff. They can come in here and feel welcome, feel like I belong here. Part of that is when I come in, and this is a psychological thing, I have to be able to look up in the front and see somebody that looks like me. If I don't, what that says is, the message I'm sending is, you can be here, but you can't be up there. So what am I saying? When I come in, I don't want to see all males up front all the time. I want to see gender, different genders, age. So every single Sabbath, I should see one of my young people doing something in the service. There should be not discrimination between male, female, older, younger. Somebody coming in has to be able to look, even in skin color. You know, a Caucasian person should be able to walk in like Sister Laura and say, oh, I could see myself up there one day too, because they see somebody that looks like them. When we don't do that, when we're not intentional about that, then the message that we're sending is, you don't belong here. And I'm sorry, I just gotta tell y'all, when I came here, when I was spying on y'all, those weeks, I literally went over there and I walked through those apartments over there. And I said, you have got to be kidding me. We got an apartment building almost like on our property. I mean, it's right here. Am I pointing in the right direction? Right there. It's right there. The neighbors are right here. And when I back up on a Tuesday and I'm backing up my car, they're waving, hey, how you doing, Pastor Matt? I'm like, how do they know my name? You know? But I'm saying there are people that are literally right here. So when we have Fun Day on the 15th, you know what I'm going to be doing? Y'all, you'll be having fun if you want. I'm trying to get to know all the people around, because that's how we're going to grow. But in order for them to come, there's some things that we need to be able to share the vision, you know, and not list, well, no, you're not ready yet. I was kind of hitting some stuff today. I hope y'all didn't take offense to it. But when people come, they need to feel like they can belong here. If Salem is going to be what I believe the Lord has given me the vision of what Salem can be, and it's not something way far stretched years down the road, we just have to commit to say, all right, let's follow what the Lord wants us to do. Can I be honest with you? When Elder Donnie shared with me that we own this property right here, you notice I opened up that window thing. I keep forgetting to close it all the time. But I went out there and I walked all through there and I said, wait a minute. We own property. What are we doing with that? So I need y'all to tell me, what are we doing with that property? Just getting mangoes? I got a mango tree in my yard if y'all just want mangoes. You can come to my house and eat mangoes. I mean, I'm serious. Is there a plan for the property?
community center, like, on this
Come-
side here. 'cause
come on,
we were
talk to
thinking
me
about
now.
extending the church over into the fellowship hall. And then on this side here was going to be like a fellowship hall / community center.
Okay. Okay. All right. Now I'm smiling. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm thinking. In my head, I'm like, this is prime. To me, it's the Canaan land. You got Canaan sitting right here, and we right here on this side of Jordan looking at it.
It's been years, Pastor. The church, they done said the same thing and nothing been done yet.
Let me say this. We all are familiar with the great Advent movement. We know what happens. And at some point, that movement is going to take Pastor Mac as well. Here's what I would like for us to do. When the church has a vision in place, and when this happens, you can come and say, Pastor, this is great. Let's pray. But I believe this, when we are on one accord, whoever the Lord sends next is going to come in, and what they have planned or in their mind should line up with what the church is doing. Now, part of that too is the conference making sure that whoever comes in, they kind of match the pastor with the church. Y'all forgive me because I'm still arguing about how I end up with Deerfield and Salem at the same time. But pray for your pastor. Pray for your pastor. But I get it. So we have to have something in place so that if the Lord delays his coming and one day I'm no longer here, you say to the next pastor, female or male, this is what our plans are. This is what we would like to do. And hopefully this lines up with what the Lord is already showing you as well. But the church should have a plan in place. And I'm here to help us get that in place. Okay? Yes. Laura? Yeah, go ahead, Laura.